New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian has declared a state of emergency across the state for the next 7 days as firefighters brace for heatwave conditions. Temperatures will reach 45 degrees in many parts of the state today, including Penrith, Hay and Griffith. Reporter Lara Hyams joins us now from the Rural Fire Service headquarters in Sydney. Lara, g'day. So what has led to this state of emergency being declared?
Good morning, Joe. Well, essentially, the Premier has put it down to some of the extreme heat wave conditions and also those strong winds, which has prompted this alert that has been put in place. We know that those heat conditions were coming from the west of the country, and then it sort of moved across, traversed the country and situated itself in the South Australian region for some time, still lingering there, and it's beginning to come across to New South Wales. Now, those temperatures have already begun to have some effect. We're already sitting on 35 degrees in Sydney. Parts of the Illawarra already getting up to 40 degrees at the moment, and parts of the lower west hitting 39 degrees already. Now, on the back of that, adding to some concerns about these fire conditions have been some of those strong winds, those westerlies coming across, expected to get up to about 40 to 50 kilometres per hour, with wind gusts going a little bit beyond that. So it's not playing a good role for some of the fires that are already in place today. The Premier today outlined the reasons why she called that state of emergency in place. She said that it was done with consultation of heads of other departments and says it wasn't taken lightly.
The decision to declare a state of emergency is not one taken lightly. It normally only goes for 7 days, and you have to make sure that conditions are serious enough for that declaration to be made. We also can't afford to have people be complacent. You only declare states of emergency when it's absolutely necessary and on advice, expert advice from commissioners. In fact, the Commissioner and myself and the Minister discuss this almost on a daily basis.
And so, Lara, what does this mean practically in terms of powers for the Commissioner?
What it does is it bolsters the powers of the Commissioner for the next 7 days. So this is the second time that a state of emergency has been declared in New South Wales for this bushfire season. We saw the earlier one take place around November the 11th and also had a duration of 7 days. So what it means is the Commissioner will now have the power to direct government agencies to move or change their resourcing plan according to what he thinks is best. He also has the power to allow evacuations to occur from particular fire-prone areas, and he also has the power to carry out road closures or implement road closures in certain areas where he deems it to be unsafe. Now, at the moment, we've already seen some of these fires pick up. We do have currently 3 watch and acts in place, so that has increased in the past half an hour. Those areas, Gospers Mountain, which was already sitting at a watch and act from this morning, Greenwattle Creek, and also the Tianjara area, which is situated around the Hawkesbury area. We currently have about 2,000 personnel which are in place fighting these fires, and we also have about 500 personnel which are on standby. So they've already been deployed to areas which the RFS deemed to be hotspots or areas of risk today. But the real concern for the RFS firefighters that are out there today won't be to extinguish these blazes, because we know that given these conditions, that will be almost impossible to do. It will be about the preservation of properties.
Our job is about trying to protect and secure and limit the spread of these fires and trying to get suppression on edges as much as we can. But the enormity and scale of these things, we're nearing 3 million hectares already, and we're up around 8,500 fires so far this season. So that's the sort of challenge that firefighters and emergency services personnel are facing every day, and we've seen it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out now since winter.
And so, Lara, several people have died in these fires already over the past couple of months. How have the fires and the smoke been affecting people's health more generally?
Well, with those smoky conditions that have fallen across the Sydney Basin and also the northeastern corridor, that smoke has been coming from the fires mainly on the mid-north coast, and they have been traversing across Sydney and further to the mid-north coast off and on for a couple of weeks now. We're beginning to have a bit of a picture as to how that has impacted health. We do know that paramedics have received a 10% increase in call-out for people with respiratory conditions, which has been prompted because of the smoke haze. Also, those people who are prone to respiratory issues, being the vulnerable, those already with existing conditions, and also the elderly. So the warning is in place that if you do suffer from these respiratory conditions, to try to get out of harm's way there, and if you do have an issue and do require medication, to have that on standby too. So a few moving parts in this potentially catastrophic issue, and that's likely to go into the weekend ahead.